Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. From dodging stray vultures to dodging the expectations of striver parents, today's guest has truly walked her path, sometimes hilariously, sometimes heartbreakingly, but always with purpose. She's an innovator, an animal advocate, a music lover, and the author of the fearless memoir, A Schizoid at Smith, How Overparenting Leads to Underachieving. Please welcome the ever-original Blair Sorrel. Welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, Blair, you call yourself an open book and a cautionary tale. That's a bold way to introduce yourself. Where does that fearless honesty come from?
Well, if you're going to do something like this at all, you have to be prepared to be honest, or it's not going to be instructive. It won't serve its purpose for other people, and to prevent this cyclical pattern.
Yeah, no, I see your point there. So, I mean, you say you're an open book. How did your story go then?
Well, I just wanted to record things as they happened. I didn't want to sugarcoat. There's no epiphany. There's no tidy closure, catharsis. It's not chick lit. It's just the story the way it played out. I did my own analysis of what happened because I wanted to try to understand why schizoid personality or this maladaptation develops in childhood, with the hope of preventing it or tweaking earlier intervention. It accounts for high levels of homelessness.
Yeah. I mean, I know homelessness is kind of a cause of a lot of mental health issues, really, all around, and you could imagine so, really. But in your situation, you wasn't homeless, though, was you? Or
Oh no, but I couldn't be completely self-supporting, and that's the issue, because I was impaired. I had difficulty conforming to the schedule. I was operating with a phobia, and that's the way it played out. So it would mean that anybody with this condition, if they're impaired, and not every schizoid is impaired, would be vulnerable. They would be better off out of an office with this kind of condition. But not everybody has that option.
Yeah.
Most people need to work. And if you have a disorder that hampers your ability to work, no matter how well-meaning you are, how many resumes you send out, if you can't get to a job on time, if you're in fantasy a lot when you're there, if you're inappropriate about how you handle yourself socially, you have zero social skill, in other words, you're going to be very vulnerable.
Mm.
It's, especially where I lived in New York, which is such a competitive place.
Yeah, I know New York. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, from the middle of London, it's a kind of big city, global city, even much bigger in New York. But yeah, was you actually from the middle of New York or from the outskirts?
Excuse me, I was living in the city, but there are schizoids in London. And that if you hired someone who was chronically late or in fantasy a lot, you wouldn't retain that person that long. I mean, maybe you give them a few chances, but you would be seeing the symptoms, and that's what's going to make them vulnerable, and why they're eligible for disability.
Yeah.
But not all of them. If they find work in isolation, they would perform better. And as I mentioned before, they're not all impaired.
Yeah.
But if they are, this is likely how it will play out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about the employment situation, really. how would the employers? They're supposed to really help with situations like that, really, aren't they? But at the end of the day, they don't, do they?
Well, they're not going to pay you to daydream.
No.
It's going to be wasted expenditure on their end, and it's going to be anguish for the afflicted. And the long when you think about it, if they can't work, then their parents are going to be benefactors. They're going to be dependent. They may never be able to move out of their home, their parents' home. There are other
Yeah.
implications.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do know. Yeah, New York is well, London's got more like New York. I mean, the first time I was there was 1985, and London was nothing like it. But now there's so many tall buildings in London, offices, a lot of
Yeah,
American companies there now.
it's a more I'm sure more corporate
Corporate, yeah, it's
environment.
corporate London now.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much there. Although I only lived about when I grew up as a kid, I lived by London Bridge.
Oh, very
So
nice.
I could walk there. My school was right next to, well, it's actually next to Tower Bridge. But when you walk over, you're in the city, meaning the city of London, where the Bank of England is, or where all the big, that's like saying Manhattan, when you walk over Brooklyn Bridge or, Manhattan Bridge from Brooklyn, then it was like that really.
Oh,
I do actually have family in Brooklyn, one that lives quite close to Brooklyn Bridge, so that's why I know. It's a very similar kind of comparison, really.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I do know the kind of situation you was in with city life like that, and obviously going through schooling and everything, and work life doesn't really help. But you grew up in an era when diagnoses like schizoid personality disorder weren't even on the radar, I think, as you said earlier. So, how did that lack of understanding shape your early experience, especially with complicated home life?
Well, I mean, schizoid actually was Eugene Blair came up with the term in the earlier part of the 20th century. But, you have to consider the tenor of the times, as you mentioned, that people weren't as transparent about any kind of disorder. And parents often are in denial. They don't want to think there's something seriously wrong. They thought as a child I might be autistic.
Oh yeah,
I had the same issues connecting with the work and difficulty with teachers that I would eventually have with bosses and performance on jobs. So it was the same kind of blueprint then. But of course, in a job situation where somebody's paying you, they're going to be much more demanding.
yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Well, how did you have a complicated home life anyway? If you don't mind me sharing, I mean, if
Oh,
you do,
no, of
yeah,
course.
yeah,
It's all there. It's an open
yeah,
book.
yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
I had very complicated with, mother who was terminally ill. She had emotional problems. My father was absent. People could say, well, it was the 60s and it was a rollicking era, but my classmates who were able to succeed were came from home lives that were more stable and where the outlook was more positive.
yeah, I see. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I was born in 1964, so probably might be around your kind of era anyway.
Yeah, you're on
Yeah,
the you're junior.
I had to listen to the Beatles a lot when I was growing up and watch
No
their
worries.
movies.
Yeah, you're on the
The
tail
Beatles and Jim Reeves.
end. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then you understand it. I don't have to tell you how great the music is or how you were too
Yeah,
young to know the real flavor of the era, but you came in on the tail end.
I came at the tail end. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I was kind of a soul and reggae kind of person as well. My family's from the my mum's from the Caribbean, but she's more of a Christian upbringing, so I listened to more church hymns with her singing by the window. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's and that's why I've got family in Brooklyn. They came from the Caribbean, migrated into Brooklyn and Queens. You know, so that's why I visited there as well. And initially, and then I went on holiday there and stayed in Manhattan last time. Just
Very nice.
had it more of a holiday. Sometimes you want to not include family in your holiday and just chill, don't you? Really?
I would never, I don't think any schizoid would include them in anything.
Yeah, it depends. It depends if they have an understanding or not. Of the situation. Really, that's the thing.
Well, I mean, if I saw a classified that advertised a job as like family, that would like set a chill up my spine.
Yeah.
Because mine was like the Addams family.
Oh God, I've got a daughter actually. I started late as well, but yeah, she loves Wednesday. But that's the modern version of the Family.
Yeah,
We watched
yeah,
the old version in black and white, which was
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
good.
that
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you sort of we're talking about music. You said that music, especially classic rock, helped you find yourself at Smith. So, what was it about that soundtrack and those icons that spoke to you in ways people couldn't?
Well, they could express the emotions that I couldn't articulate. They were also alienated beings. The rock stars had a kind of, well, they had a flamboyance that I could never muster.
Mm,
And they were a kind of refuge for my turmoil where I could find solace. They act, I would say, as emotional proxies. Mostly they were the emotions. The songs that I include articulate those emotions, but I have found with readers that they say that they hear the songs, that they resonate. Um, the rock stars are presented with their vulnerability too. I have John Lennon's mediocre report card
yeah,
in there. I have Jim Morrison's estrangement from his father, Carlos Santana's fly was down during a concert. They're presented in ways that they're approachable. And of course, I kept a Mick Jagger scrapbook.
yeah.
It's very
Mick Jagger.
enamored with stones, you know.
He's an interesting character, isn't he? We've got Glastonbury, which you've probably heard of, and then there was a rock star, a modern one. He's probably in his 20s or 30s, I don't know, but he's had to pull out through mental health issues. He said, "Look, I'm really dealing with a lot of stuff. I have to pull out of Glastonbury." And it's like that, isn't it? And to be honest, there's a lot of addiction problems. It's all pressure from fame, and some do have similar situations like ordinary people, maybe like me and you, but we're not ordinary people because we're both authors. I've got a podcast, I'm meant to be a rock star as well. You're a rock star. You're an author. You're an author. You just publish in a different way instead of music. Well, I don't know if you've done music. Have you published music?
Not as a
No.
performer,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But you
I
have a
think,
book.
yes, I have
Yeah.
this book. It's
But
very, very difficult because the rock stars then, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, are under so much pressure to perform and simultaneously to produce. They're expected to fill their recording contracts, and then they're given these exhausting schedules, or at least they were. And they may also be people who were basically shy, like Jim Morrison and Jimi Hendrix were, and getting up in front of
oh
thousands of
yeah.
people, is
Yeah. I didn't know he was actually. I didn't know he was pretty
yeah,
shy. Yeah.
they were. But the demands were so great. But then
He
the
spent a lot
music,
of time. He was actually made in. He's from the USA, but born in the USA, as Bruce Springsteen would say, but made in the UK.
that was a very smart marketing move of Chaz Chandler. Chaz was the bassist
Oh,
for the
okay.
group The Animals, and he left. Eric Burden went on with War, and he was producing Hendrix, and he put him together with Mitch Mitchell, the drummer, and Noel Redding, the bassist. It was an extraordinarily shrewd move because unlike the United States, where the music scene is LA, Nashville, New York, it's all centralized in London. And then you had the
Yeah, it is.
icons
Yeah.
like Mick Jagger and John Lennon promoting him and going to these clubs and saying, hey, you really have to listen to this guy. And Mick Jagger is on film saying, you should be interviewing Jimi Hendrix instead. So that was
Uh-huh.
very, very wise of him to bring him to
Yeah.
London
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
generate that kind of spin. And then he was able, of course, to take him to Monterey Pop, where he exploded.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he inflamed his guitar because the Who were known for destroying their instruments. And
Oh,
they
I
didn't,
didn't know that. All right.
so
Okay.
he didn't know if they were going
Like
to
John
be,
McEnroe destroying his racket
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
And he felt if he was going to come up after the Who, he wanted to outdo them. So that's why he set his guitar on fire. That was, like a stunt.
Don't worry, he's got enough money to buy another one, didn't they?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But that became, and you see there are pictures of that, and you see there's a young girl in the audience and her eyes enlarging in disbelief watching that. But that was a kind of wild man image. But in
Mm,
person and in private, he was a very timid, respectful, understated individual.
mm.
Of course, the world's greatest guitarist. I don't think anybody has approximated him in all these years.
In Jimi Hendrix, you're talking about.
Jimi Hendrix, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
World's
He also
most
got to know. He also went over to meet a journalist, a lady journalist that he knew or something. I can't remember what that story was behind that, but she also promoted him. I think she's a music journalist actually, but stayed. He went to stay with her, and then got helped a lot that way as well. But yeah, it's quite interesting era actually. That era, wasn't it? The era that we kind of were kids and growing up in around that.
Well, that's why some people just enjoy reading the book, because there is so much social history, and it's like a walk down memory lane
Yeah.
for them.
We had Bob Marley move from Jamaica to London, and then he made his big hits there. Probably, yeah, maybe around the same time as Hendrix. Probably a little bit earlier. I don't know. Yeah, probably actually Hendrix got there before him actually. But yeah, so you like you say, everything was centralized, But there are certain parts that you probably lived in a part of London where reggae was kind of more received, except David Bowie lived and grew up in an area that predominantly like a little Jamaica. It's like very heavily black Caribbean area. So it's not anymore. It's a very high professional, rich area now. Well, not rich, but it's a professional. I think like everywhere in the world, they suddenly found out that where you got transport and jobs, that's where you're going to make the money from housing and everything else. So they've kicked anyone out that's
you see that all over.
All over, yeah. Even Brooklyn, unless you're Spike Lee.
Yeah, they become gentrified and sanitized. They learn kind of their grit and character. I felt that way, at least about Times Square. I liked it when it was dangerous. But you had all these idiosyncratic small businesses that made it more interesting and affordable. I mean, you had more of a range of, small eateries that you could never have a 99-cent store there now. Everything, it just displaces and they become touristic. But still, I think if you wander off the side streets, you'll stumble onto.
That's what happens in London, but I think they've cleaned that all up as well in quite a lot. But they always get pushed somewhere else in a side street. I was there in '85 when 42nd Street was quite notorious. I don't want to go into it because you know already. And then when I went back again a few years, 10 years later, obviously Giuliani cleaned it all up, and only just about in recent years they've cleaned up Soho, which is where all the rock stars went actually, and they've got the jazz. What it's called now. Ronnie Scott's there, everything, that side of it's still there, but they cleaned up all the kind of 42nd Street seedy side of it away. Got rid of that now. Hopefully. I think so anyway. I don't know. But anyway, let's quickly talk about your book before we go. So how did you come around that?
Well, it was during the pandemic, and my friends said, I really should write something of more significance. And I began to talk about the disorder. And so it was an idea that germinated a few years actually before I actually sat down and did it. The pandemic created a window of opportunity, as I think it did probably for a lot of people.
I had so many people discovering my podcast. It just went on another level,
And I had heard Reedsy's nonfiction presentation with Harry Friedman, who is an English author, it claimed. And I wrote to him, and I wasn't really sure what to do with this. Was this going to be an article? And he felt I had way too much stuff for that. And he offered to ghostwrite it. I sent a writing sample, and he and I got into writing. I would send a chapter a month. I contracted for 13 chapters, which was doable for me. It wasn't too daunting. I could spend my time on Wikipedia. Everything was shuttered. It was like a ghost town without tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
So there I was, a chapter a month, watching old movies, reading
Hmm.
timelines, racking my brains, and figure I better do this too because I have my own timeline. How long
Yeah,
can I
yeah.
remember this stuff
Was
before
you still
my
living in New York as well?
I was living in Lawrence, where I am now, which is a mill town in
Oh.
northern Massachusetts.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
the library, which was a block away, was closed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I really had to rely on my wits and Wikipedia for the most part to get
Yeah.
myself
It can have
through
its uses,
this.
can't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, somehow it just came together, maybe through providential guidance, but there it was. Um, yeah, he was a very, very good. When we're still in touch, he's a wonderful mentor. There were little things like the British and American English, where few times I had to explain what something meant because he didn't know the lingo.
Mm.
Um, and he acclimated to my strange cerebral slant, and we got going. It worked out very well. We're still in touch. He's a great mentor. Anybody who needs that kind of service, Harry Friedman is excellent and patient, which you
Yeah.
really be.
Oh, fantastic. So when did you get that book written by? Did you get it
I
done?
wrote, excuse me, I contracted for 13 months, so I did it in a year. I wrote a chapter a month.
Oh, you actually had a publisher.
I got 3 bids for publication. I went with Atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then I spent some time promoting it on my own.
Mm.
It's extraordinarily difficult, as you know. There's so
Yeah.
many books.
Yeah. I had my book out in 2014. And then I divided my time between Philippines and London, and
Yeah,
really, really difficult. I mean, I was
yeah,
doing my own work still,
yeah.
it's
So,
hard.
it's beginning to develop some traction. It's an odd book. The topic is novel and
I was
explain.
novel. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought it
Oh
was.
no, it's the I just unusual topic.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
It's
but it's
not.
it's non-fiction.
I wish I could say it were fiction, but it's definitely the real deal here,
Yeah,
folks.
it's a real deal.
I
Yeah,
couldn't invent this
yeah. I mean,
stuff
mine's kind of like a,
in my
like
worst nightmares. I
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
invent this. Actually, Atmosphere first publicized it as as fiction, and I had to clarify with them. One of
Yeah.
the cats is going a little crazy
The
listening to
cat.
that.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
it's
I was
nice to
thinking,
have a
I was
cat.
forgetting that. Yeah, I have cats
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
This one of them's had
Well,
a
great.
little.
Well, it's been published, and it's out there now anyway, so that's great. Where can people find the book?
You can find it on Amazon, Thrift Books, a number of online distributors, of course, through Atmosphere Press, and it is available in England, so not to worry.
Great. Well, Blair, your story is a powerful reminder that thriving doesn't always follow the traditional route. Sometimes it means embracing the quirks, finding a rhythm in the chaos, and writing your own damn song. So
So,
thanks for rocking with us today on the Dave Palmer Show, Blair.
thank you very much.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. Or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.